ಅಂಬಿಗೆ ಮಗನೇ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಅಂಬಿಗೆ ಮಗನೇ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಅಂಬಿಗೆ ಮಗನೇ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಅಂಬಿಗೆ ಮಗನೇ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಜಗವತ ನಾದ ನಾದ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಜಗವತ ನಾದನ ನಾದ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಜಗವತ ನಾದ ನಾದ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಜಗವತ ನಾದನ ನಾದ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಗೌರಿ ಪುದನ ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದರ್ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದನ ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದರ್ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಅಂಬಿಗೆ ಮಗನೇ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಅಂಬಿಗೆ ಮಗನೇ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಜಗವತ ನಾದ ನಾದ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಜಗವತ ನಾದನ ನಾದ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಗೌರಿ ಪುದನ ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದರ್ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಶಕ ಸರ್ವ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಶಕ ಸರ್ವ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಶಕ ಸರ್ವ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಶಕ ಸರ್ವ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ ಗಣೇಶ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ ಗಣೇಶ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ ಗಣೇಶ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ ಗಣೇಶ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಗೌರಿ ಪುದಲ ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಗೌರಿ ಪುದರ್ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಗೌರಿ ಪುದಲ ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಗೌರಿ ಪುದರ್ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದಲ ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದರ್ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದಲ ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದರ್ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಅಂಬಿಗೆ ಮಗನೇ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಅಂಬಿಗೆ ಮಗನೇ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಜಗವತ ನಾದ ನಾದ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಜಗವತ ನಾದನ ನಾದ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಗೌರಿ ಪುದಲ ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ಶಿವ ಗೌರಿ ಪುದರ್ವನ ವಿನಾಯಕ,
ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಶಕ ಸರ್ವ
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
राम नाम जीवन का सहारा, राम बिना सुना जग सारा,
राम नाम जीवन का सहारा, राम बिना सोना जग सारा,
राम बिना सुना तन मन धन, सुना तेरा धाम,
राम बिना सोना तन मन धन, सोना तेरा धाम,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
ये दुनिया दरिया का पानी, माया की नगरी अज्ञानी,
ये दुनिया दरिया का पानी, माया की नगरी अज्ञानी,
अपने पराये सब मतलब के साथरी का नाम,
अपने पराये सब मतलब के साथ हरि का नाम,
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
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 नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
भक्तों के रखवाला नंदलाला
भक्तों के रखवाला नंदलाला
भक्तों के रखवाला नंदलाला
भक्तों के रखवाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
गोपियों के गोपाला नंदलाला
गोपियों के गोपाला नंदलाला
गोपियों के गोपाला नंदलाला
गोपियों के गोपाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
मीरा के मतवाला नंदलाला
मीरा के मतवाला नंदलाला
मीरा के मतवाला नंदलाला
मीरा के मतवाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
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 भक्तों के रखवाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
गोपियों के गोपाला नंदलाला
गोपियों के गोपाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
मीरा के मतवाला नंदलाला
मीरा के मतवाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
नित्य नित्य सुंदर मुखार विंदम नाचो रे नंदलाला नंदलाला
Shriyati Rajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Om Namo Narayanaya, dear children and loving devotees. As many students and learners are busy with exams, today we shall talk about study methods for success. Each and every one of us is continuously learning and growing throughout our lives. However, it is in our youth when education and studies are most critical. The habits, skills, and knowledge gained in our youth form the foundations of our lives and provide us with direction towards our future goals and aspirations. In the earlier stages of youth, most of us are able to enjoy ourselves and have fun without having to worry about responsibilities. But as we become older, we become more independent and have goals and dreams of our own. At this point, it is critical that we realize the importance of studies in achieving these goals. By looking at some practical study tips, as well as some important qualities from the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, we can become better at studying. This will ultimately help us to reach success quicker and easier. The focus of these lessons is on studying, but it can be applied throughout our lives, whether it be at work or in our personal pursuits. Let us start by identifying some of the qualities that will help us through the challenges of studying. Firstly, we need to have faith in ourselves. Swamiji advises us to stand up, be bold, be strong, take the whole responsibility on your own shoulders and know that you are the creator of your own destiny. Unquote. Many of us are feeling as though the COVID-19 pandemic has cancelled our goals and aspirations that we had planned to achieve this year. Do not be despondent. Rather, be positive and make the most of the opportunities at hand. We must remember that the road to success will always be tough. There are no shortcuts to success. There will be times when we fail, but we must pick ourselves up, learn from our mistakes, and try again. Praying to God and having faith in yourself will not make the obstacles go away, but it will give us the strength to face them. Swamiji says, "Devote your whole mind, heart, and soul, and never mind any failures. They are the beauty of life. Hold on to the ideal 1,000 times, and if you fail 1,000 times, make the attempt once more." Unquote. Another important skill that we should develop is the power of concentration. When Swamiji was living in Chicago, he used to go to the library, borrow a large number of books, take them home, and return them the next day. The librarian was curious, so she asked him, "Why do you take so many books when you can't possibly read them all in one day?" Swamiji replied that he read each and every word of the books he borrowed with full concentration. The librarian was not convinced, so Swamiji asked her to test him. She opened a book, randomly selected a page and a paragraph, and asked him to tell her what was written there. Swamiji repeated the sentence word for word without looking at the book. The librarian was shocked at Swamiji's wonderful powers of concentration and retention. Through this story, we see the power of concentration that is hidden within each of us. We can develop this power through constant practice. Practice meditation as often as possible and practice controlling the mind. Whatever task you do, keep your mind fully concentrated on it, whether it be eating, playing sport, or studying. Meditation has an added benefit in that it also helps us to relax and reduce stress levels. To make concentration easier, remove all distractions. Make sure your workspace is well organized and remove any unnecessary distractions such as phones or tablets. In order to study effectively, we also need to make sure that the body is looked after. Our brains need proper nutrition in order to perform at its best. We cannot study when we are hungry, but overeating is just as bad. Try to ensure a healthy diet and avoid excessive sugar or other junk foods which make the mind restless. Exercise is also important as it releases endorphins, which makes us feel good and decreases anxiety. During the lockdown period, we are unable to play sports with friends or go to the gym, so it is even more important that we make an effort to do some physical activity at home. In order to progress towards success, we should set long-term and short-term goals so that we have something to work towards. Everyone will have different goals based on their own progress and aspirations. Don't compare your goals with those of others, but rather focus on yourself. Swamiji advises us of the importance of working consistently. He says that the secret of work is to pay as much attention to the means as to the end. So, to explain this concept, let's say our goal is to pass an exam at the end of the term. Instead of only focusing on doing well in the exam, rather focus on the small everyday tasks that build up to the exam. Pay attention in every class, do your homework properly, and revise every day. Thus, by the end of the term, you will be ready for the exam. You will not have to do late night cramming the night before, as this often adds more stress and pressure to the situation. You might say that there is no time for this. Planning and time management is of utmost importance. There are only 24 hours in a day, right? If you're sleeping for say 8 hours, you've got 16 hours to work with. Try to review that 16 hours to make sure you're spending it effectively. How many of those hours are getting wasted on TV, social media, or other unnecessary tasks? If we can make a positive change within these 16 hours, within our daily routines, we will form positive habits. The results of this daily, consistent repetition and practice will be life-changing. So review your daily routine and focus on your priorities. Focus on those things which will bring you closer to success. It is also important that we allow sufficient time for sleep. Set aside time for daily prayer and meditation. Allow for breaks in between your studies. Keep a study schedule which will assist with planning and be disciplined in following it. Learners who have not returned to school must try to maintain a daily routine of learning as they would during normal school. Otherwise, the return to school will definitely be a tough task. The hard work that you do now will pay off when you return to school. Another way to improve our time management is to find the most efficient way to do our tasks. When it comes to studying, there are many different learning styles. These methods could include rewriting your notes, drawing diagrams or mind maps, practicing worked examples, using more color in your work, saying your work out aloud, playing music in the background, and using acronyms or rhymes. Try out different methods and use whichever works best for you. We should try as much as possible to understand the work, as this makes it easier to remember. Always ask questions in order to improve your understanding. Remember that you are not facing these challenges alone. There are other learners also struggling to understand these same concepts. Remember that you will always get help, whether it be from friends, family, teachers, or the ashram. On the true ideal for education, Swamiji says, "We want that education by which character is formed, strength of mind is increased, the intellect is expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet." Unquote. The current schooling system does not necessarily provide us with all of these, but it is up to us to make the effort. Luckily, at the ashram, we learn about spirituality and character building. We have access to books on the teachings of the Holy Trinity, and we can go to Mataji if we need advice. We must remember that even though our academic studies are important, it is not the be-all and end-all of life. Even though it is good to be ambitious, we should not overburden ourselves with the expectations of others. There will always be other opportunities for success. There is also no point in passing with all distinctions if we lie, cheat, and treat others badly. So remember that spiritual education should not be neglected, as it is even more important in helping us to get through the challenges of life. May Master, Mother, and Swamiji guide us through all our studies. Hari Om Tat Sat.
रघुपति दीनी बहुत बड़ाई।
ब्रह्मादि मुनीषा नारद शारद सहित अहीशा यम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सकै कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीना राम मिलाय राजपद दीना तुम्हारो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्यो तारी मधुर फल जानो प्रभु मोद्रिका मणि मुख मारी जलधि लांग गए अक्षर जनारी दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनोख्य तुम्हारे थे राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे सब लगे तुम्हारी शरणा तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज सहारो आवे तीनों लोक हाकते कावे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नाशे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जोड़ावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे तासमित जीवन फल पावे चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता असबर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुम्हारे भजन राम को भावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंत काल रघुपति पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चेतन धरई हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई संकट हरे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई जो शत बार बात कर कोई छूटई बंदी महासुख होई जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीशा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा कीजनाथ हृदय महादेवा कीजनाथ हृदय महादेवा दोहा पवन तनय संकट हरन मंगल मूर्ति रूप राम मात की जय।
Om Namo Narayanaya. Let us sit calmly for a few moments and contemplate on the powerful and progressive teachings of Swami Vivekananda. The calmer we are and the less disturbed our nerves, the more shall we love and the better will our work be. Let strong, positive, helpful thoughts enter into your mind from childhood. Infinite patience, infinite purity, and infinite perseverance are the secret of success. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम तत्सत्।
जय श्री गुरु महाराज की
जय।
महामाई की
जय।
स्वामी जी महाराज की
जय।
गंगा मात की
जय।
महावीर स्वामी जी की
जय।
सर्व ऋषि मुनीन की
जय। पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय। ओम नमो नारायणाय।
ऐं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय Sri Ramakrishnaya Namaha. I offer my salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, who is the embodiment of all the gods and goddesses. Dear sisters, brothers, and loving children, Om Namo Narayanaya. We welcome you to our Hinduism class for today. We have the blessed opportunity to discuss the saintly life and teachings of Paramahamsa Sri Ramakrishna over the next few weeks. Respectfully referred to as the Master, Sri Ramakrishna is revered by millions of devotees as the incarnation of this age. We can learn something new by simply asking an expert to teach us. For example, if we wish to learn how to cook our favorite food, then we may ask our parents to show us the ingredients and the method to prepare our favorite dish. In much the same way, if we want to learn more about God or spiritual practices and build strong moral characters, then we look to those that intimately know God for guidance. When the young Swami Vivekananda first visited Sri Ramakrishna, he asked the Master if he had seen God. Sri Ramakrishna immediately answered, Naren, which was Swamiji's pre-monastic name, I see God more clearly than I see you. The most fascinating and charming aspect of Sri Ramakrishna's life was that he saw God clearly. When we read or hear about the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we soon realize that he was no ordinary person. Outwardly, Sri Ramakrishna may appear to be just a man. However, on the inside, he was saturated with the divinity of God. In this introductory lesson, we shall briefly discuss Sri Ramakrishna's parentage, a few special incidents in the Master's boyhood days, and conclude with a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Ramakrishna's parents were very pious. Kshudiram, who was the Master's father, was a poor but honest Brahmin and a sincere devotee of God. Chandramani Devi, the Master's mother, was a simple and virtuous lady. The Master's parents were highly respected by the people of their village because they were always honest, treated everyone with kindness, and were eager to give in charity. Kshudiram was known to always remain truthful. Once he was asked to tell a lie by the local chief, but he remained truthful. His honesty angered the chief, who asked them to leave the village. Kshudiram lost all his family's property and possessions in the process. However, their reputation was upheld as they stayed on the path of truth at any cost, even when it resulted in losing all their material possessions. Through the generosity of Kshudiram's friend, they were given a small piece of land and made their new home in the neighboring village of Kamarpukur. Although they were poor, the days in Kamarpukur went by joyfully. Kshudiram made many pilgrimages to holy places in India. During one such pilgrimage to Gaya, at an ancient temple dedicated to Lord Vishnu, Kshudiram had a wonderful experience. After making his offerings at the temple, he had an unusual dream while resting in Gaya. The radiant form of the Lord appeared before him and said, I am well pleased at your sincere devotion. I shall be born in your cottage and accept you as my father. Kshudiram awoke and with a heart filled with immense joy knew that the Lord will bless his home very soon. Around that very same time, Chandramani also had a vision while standing in front of the Shiva temple next to her house in Kamarpukur. She saw a bright beam of divine light dart from the Shiva Linga and enter her, after which she fell to the ground. When Chudiram and Chandramani discussed their unusual experiences, they both knew that they will be blessed with a divine child. On the 18th of February 1836, Chandramani gave birth to a boy who would become known to the world as Sri Ramakrishna. They named him Gadadhar, which is the name of Lord Vishnu as worshipped in Gaya. Gadadhar, or Gadai as Sri Ramakrishna was lovingly called as a child, would often draw relatives and neighbors to him, who could not help but spend time in the company of this fascinating and divine child. It is truly amazing to see how the Lord took birth in the simple home of Chandramani Devi and Chudiram. It was a home where so many noble virtues like love, devotion, truthfulness, kindness, charity, and many more were practiced with sincerity of heart. As the years went by, even at the tender age of only 5 years, young Gadadhar showed remarkable intelligence and had a wonderful memory. He had learnt by heart the hymns to various gods and goddesses and stories from the great epics like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. He was naturally drawn to stories of spiritual heroes from the scriptures. Through the study of their lives, he would go into deep meditation. As Gadadhar grew older, it was found that religious feelings, a beautiful scene in nature, or a touching incident would remind the young boy of God, and he would immediately go into a deeply blissful, trance-like state of spiritual ecstasy known as samadhi. Sri Ramakrishna had 3 wonderful experiences of spiritual ecstasy as a child. The Master narrated the following incident in his own words. In Kamarpukur, the boys are given puffed rice as a snack. They carry it in a small wicker basket. They then go out to play on the roads or the fields. One day, when I was 6 or 7 years old, I was walking along a narrow path that separates the paddy fields, eating the puffed rice, which I was carrying in a basket. Looking up at the sky, I saw a beautiful dark cloud. As it spread, rapidly covering the whole sky, a flock of snow-white cranes flew below those clouds. It presented such a beautiful contrast that my mind wandered off to far-off regions. Lost to my outward senses, I fell down, and the puffed rice was scattered in all directions. That was the first time I completely lost consciousness in ecstasy. Gadadhar also passed into a divine state of ecstasy on 2 other occasions. Once while accompanying a group of elderly ladies who were going on a pilgrimage, and again while playing the role of Lord Shiva in the village play on Shivaratri night. Gadadhar spent most of his time in studying sacred books and the Puranas. He found great joy in reenacting scenes from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata with other young boys of the village. His favorite themes were the various incidents in the life of Sri Krishna. The mango orchard, where they would play out those scenes, would be filled with the voices of the young boys who joyfully sang devotional songs in chorus, creating a deeply spiritual atmosphere. We conclude with chapter 6, verse 29 of the Bhagavad Gita, where Sri Krishna says, Sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. The meaning of this verse is, He whose mind is established in yoga has evenness of vision. He sees the Lord in all beings and all beings in the Lord. He beholds the Lord everywhere. When we recall the remarkable incidents in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, this verse becomes clear. From the Master's life, we learn that no one is high or low. By having evenness of vision, we see that God alone exists in this world. Sri Ramakrishna saw God everywhere and reminds us of the divinity that is within each one of us. The goal of our life is to realize that divinity through regular spiritual practices such as the repetition of God's name and meditation. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.